All right. According to this, we are live. Welcome, everybody. My name is Chris, and this, of course, is my channel, Barn on 11970. And I got some good stuff I want to share with you guys. Now, this may not be for everybody. It's going to be for the few that can listen. It's going to help those who are at a level where this will make sense to them. It's going to help people. Just to put a little bit of perspective before I get into things, just explain some of my background this week. Just to show that this is not coming from everything's going great, but that things actually do serve a purpose. In the span of about a week, I lost 2 of my jobs, a lot of my income, broke my foot. My aunt is in the ICU, still is, but for the past 24 hours, we didn't know if she was going to live or die. A lot of things were happening. But the beautiful thing is, and I'll explain how you can change your thought process. That's why I want to wait until a couple people get on before I really get into it, is you could take negativity and instead of the woe is me thing, say, okay, what can I learn from this? And you'll get those aha moments. Well, I got one of those today. Now I want to show you something. Hopefully this is going to help change your thought process. So bear with me with this. Now, you see this glass. Now, of course, it's Wolverine glass. Now, if I was to ask people about this glass, now obviously you see there's water in it. Now, there are people that are going to say, well, this glass is half full, which they would be told you're an optimist. Some people will say the glass is half empty, which they dictate as being pessimistic. Now, when you think of things in a larger scale and you think of things as infinite, in other words, infinite possibilities, why limit yourself to one frame of thought? In other words, why can't it be both half full and both half empty at the same time? Why is it that we are programmed to think in only one way? So here's what I talk about, and I've said this in several videos, and I try and make these in a way that people understand it and it makes sense. So it's going to seem a little basic, but sometimes we need that. You know, if you're in kindergarten, you don't want to hear about astrophysics. You're not going to be able to handle it. You got to first learn how to finger paint and do your ABCs before you can get the grander pictures of learning. So this is New Reality 101. So we're taught to either think in one or two ways. In other words, this is either half empty or half full. But when it comes to your own truth and your own perception, either way is right. So if you're a person that says this is glass is half full, well, you're right, because it is. But if you're a person that says it's half empty, well, guess what? You're also right, because it is. So both truths are true. It's your perspective to choose either one. But here's the best part. Why limit yourself to one choice? Put that in your frame of mind for your life. Now, in a world, and you could see this in movies, especially movies these days, they're talking about other dimensions and other planes of existence. They're trying to show you deeper parts of what is known as reality. Most people cannot accept that, handle it, or believe it. Doesn't matter whether you believe or don't believe something. If it's true, then it is. Because if I say this glass is half full, and you say, no, it's half empty, well, you don't believe what I said to be true, and you believe in your truth. Doesn't make mine wrong and yours right, or vice versa. It's just perception. So in an infinite realm of infinite choices, why do we tend to focus on things that are familiar, even if they're bad? Now, I want to do a little experiment, so hopefully you're not driving right now and you're in a place where you can do this. If you're sitting at home in a safe place, I want you to just close your eyes for a second and just think of yourself just maybe on a beach or in the desert, somewhere where there's nothing distracting you. It's all open field, and you're just standing there. And then out of nowhere, thousands of different roads appear in 360 degrees. In other words, not just in front of you, but above you, on different angles, behind you, everywhere. Now, the way we are programmed to think is pick a road and hope it's the best one, because that's your path. That, in other words, that's your destiny. What they're trying to teach you is, even though there's infinite possibilities to go, they teach you, well, you have a destiny, it's preset, no matter what you do, this is what's going to happen, you have to go down that road. Well, if you want to believe that, then you can go down that one road. Some people don't even do that, because they'll sit there, they're at the center point where there's infinite possibilities. But then they're sitting there saying, okay, do I take that road? Or that one looks good, or I don't know, what if I go that way and I don't like it? Or, I've been traveling down the road that led me here and it didn't bring me anywhere good. And what happens is you don't go anywhere. You stand in that spot, trying to pick and choose your path, but being afraid to take one because you don't trust your choice. Now think of it as a regular road. If you drive down a road and it's scary, or it's not taking you where you need to go, can't you turn around? Can't you take another direction? There is no straight path unless you want it to be. And that means you have blinders on. It means I can't see. Most people stay where they are because they are so afraid of choice, because of the fear of the unknown, that it actually keeps them where they are. So think of it another way. Think of it, you're at a restaurant, and there is an unlimited free buffet with an infinite row of choices of food. Now, some people will think, well, how many can I have? Do I only get to pick one? Well, there's no sign that says that. But if you believe, well, I guess I only have one choice, I don't want to take too much, or, that stuff, I love that stuff, but it's not healthy, or I don't know if that's good for me, or I've never tried that, or that looks weird. And you stand there with that plate, slowly starving to death. Because even though you have infinite choices, your fear keeps you from taking even one choice. But if you're at a buffet and they say, help yourself, unlimited buffet, well, can't you sample everything? If you try some food and you don't like it, do you have to keep eating it? Oh, this is disgusting, and oh, I don't like this, and God, why did I pick this? Oh, it's making me sick to my stomach. Just pick something else. Now, most people are afraid, and they use that fear. Now, the true path to wherever you go is not what you think, not what you hope, not what you pray for. In other words, the outside world, it's within. That's why they always tell you to put your heart into things. Your heart is truth, because you can convince yourself of anything. And you can even see it in this alternative type of conversations that people have, the ones that are trying to give you enlightening stuff. They're always telling you, positive reinforcement, positive thinking. Drowning in good intention. And even I thought that for the longest time. Because if you don't believe what you're saying, and you don't feel it in your heart as your truth, you cannot convince yourself of a lie. Now, it may not be a lie, but it could be a lie to you. In other words, you don't believe in it. You could be in a relationship and convince yourself how much you love the person, but if you really don't, then it doesn't matter how much you convince yourself. So let's put it in proper perspective. Let's say they tell you, well, if you convince yourself enough, you could literally fly. And you keep saying positive reinforcements. Oh, well, I'm like a bird, and if I think of myself as a bird, I will fly, and the third dimension's what's keeping me down, and I can lift off in the air. Now, just imagine if I put you on a cliff and said, okay, take a walk off that cliff. And before you go to take that leap of faith, you look down and there's a mile-long drop into a rocky cavern. I don't care how much you prayed. I don't care how much you convinced yourself. If your heart is sitting there pumping, being afraid, saying, don't go forward, that's the truth. Truth is nothing more than your own perception. So it will be wrong for everyone else, but be right for you, or the exact opposite. It's whatever you want it to be. It will be your truth. So, for example, if you view this as half full, you are right. If you view it as half empty, you are also right. But it is both. And it's also infinite. You can also say, well, this is a glass that holds liquid in it. You could say this has hydrogen and oxygen in it. You could make a lot of things about this. Why does it only have to be half full and half empty? But that's what you'll focus on because they want you to concentrate on one or two dimensions. Now think about dimensions. There's an infinite amount of dimensions. They tell you we're in a third dimensional plane, where it's actually fourth because you take time. But in an infinite universe, there's actually more than four dimensions. If you want to limit yourself to four, that's fine. So let's describe two dimensions. This piece of paper would be considered two-dimensional, wouldn't it? Because it's very thin, right? Now, that's only relative to size. If I was a microbe, and I was a bacteria on that microbe, this would probably be so thick I wouldn't see the top or the bottom. So does that mean it's two-dimensional? Or does it just mean two-dimensional because of my relative size to the relative size of the thickness of this piece of paper? But you're taught this is two dimensions. But if you were, like I said, if you're a microbe on a microbe, you may not even see the top and bottom. Think about the room you're in right now. Let's say you're living or you're in currently a very small room. You could be a very large person, it doesn't matter. It doesn't take you long to get from one end of that room to the other. So it seems like that's limited space. Now, just imagine, again, a microbe on a microbe and a piece of bacteria on that microbe. So small that it would take the most powerful microscope to even get an idea of its existence. That little microbe might not even know that those walls exist because to them, or to it, that's their solar system. So even though we can go from one end of the room to the other in 2 seconds, what if they need to build, that's their universe because they can't see it because it's so small. But let's say after thousands of years of technological advances, that little microbe develops a machine that could go from one end of the room to the other. In other words, one end of their universe to the other end of their universe. Does that mean there's an end? This means it's the end of the space that they're currently in. So when it comes to your thought process, whether you believe in something or you don't believe in something, you are right. Because it's a matter of perception. But for some reason, we limit ourselves to one direction. And a lot of it is based on, you notice how we respond to a lot of things based on our emotions? Our emotions are what separates us from machines. Because make no mistake, if you think your brain is the only thing that can cause reaction, you're mistaken. Your heart actually gives out more powerful output than your brain ever will. Your brain is a computer, and like any computer, it can be programmed, but it can only go as far as the programming takes it. Now, you have a smart computer. It works faster than you do. It can think faster. It can process things faster, but it's limited to the space it has. But can't you upgrade it? Can't you make it more powerful? You can expand it, can't you? So technically, it is ever expanding, but it's limited to the moment it's in. It cannot feel. We have this ability to feel, and that's how we react to things. If I said you had to wrestle an alligator, you probably wouldn't want to do it. But if you had a baby that fell into an alligator pit and you had to dive in and save that baby, you're not thinking about, well, I don't know if I can fight that alligator. You're like, get that damn thing away from my baby. Because the love you feel is more powerful than the thought and the fear, because fear is a choice. And I had to learn through a very horrible week for me to understand this. So I'm not saying this as everything's hunky-dory. I broke my foot because of all the depression of losing the jobs and all the stress I was dealing with some of the trolls here, that I kicked one of my arcade machines, which is made of solid oak and has metal casing behind it. So my foot was shattered. But you know what I learned from that? Never do anything that stupid ever again. Fear and pain, if you pay attention to it and if you face it, will always be a learning lesson to something. Think of it as you're driving on a road, and that road, the bridge is out, and you don't know it, and it's dark, and it's raining, and there's nothing telling you that that bridge is out. And if you continue on your path on that road, you will fall to your death. Now, you don't know it's coming, so you're not afraid of it. You're not worried about it. You don't even think it's there, but that's what's going to be inevitable. You're going 90 miles an hour in the dark, in the rain, in an area you're not familiar with a bridge you think is supposed to be there that is not there. And as you're driving along, a car pulls up that knows what's going on. And they pull up like alongside you on the other side of the road, and they're honking their horn. And you're sitting there not knowing what's going on. It's like, who is this person? You know, go past me if you want to go. I'm not going to speed up or slow down. If you want to pass me, pass me. They roll down their window. They're trying to get your attention. You're not having it. It's like, the hell is wrong with this person? It's like, go around. Now all of a sudden they're driving erratically, and they're almost swerving into you. Now you're getting afraid. It's like, what is this person trying to kill me? This person's crazy. Get away from me. You start speeding up. The person realizes, oh my God, he's not listening. He can't hear me. He tries to cut you off the road. Now you're scared for your life. Does that change the fact that he was trying to get you to be aware of what's coming? And you could sit there and be afraid of that person or not stop and listen to what that person is trying to say to you, and you drive off to your death. Sometimes extreme measures from people where the drowning in good intention comes into play. We send messages to people that maybe some people just don't want to listen to. Because imagine, and I've used this reference before, but I'll do it in a different way. If you're asleep in your bed, let's say you had a night of partying, the best night of your life, you're drunk, you pass out on your bed, you fall asleep. So you're not really conscious. You are passed out from drinking too much, and you're fast asleep. Still probably drunk. And you were smoking a cigarette, you drop it, and starts catching on fire. But you're passed out, you don't even notice it. And let's say a person that just got out of prison, a person that looks like an ex-con. He's got the tattoos, the shaved head, muscle-bound person, very scary looking, trying to right his life after getting out of jail, just happens to walk by your house and see smoke and a little bit of flames. And he says, oh my God, I want to help this person. I want to show that I'm going to do something right. I came out of prison learning something, I'm going to be a better person. It's a person that needs my help. So he goes in your bedroom window and starts tapping on it lightly. And he looks in the window and he sees you asleep. Doesn't know you're drunk, just sees you asleep. You're not waking up. So he starts banging on the window, starts yelling and screaming. And all of a sudden you just wake up and you're in your daze. You were probably having the best dream of your life, still drunk. And you look and say, what's going on? And you just notice this tapping. It's like, go away. And all of a sudden he's banging. It's like, dude, you don't hear it. Your house is on fire, but you can't hear it. And then you look and you wake up and you're like, wow, there's a really scary person banging on my door, not my window. He's trying to break in. He's trying to rob me. Better go get my gun. And all he's trying to do is save your life. So think about the consequences of things. And I'll give you a prime example of why my trolls, who probably don't even watch this, nor do I care at this point, how they can actually do more damage than they think. Because their purpose, for whatever reason, is to try and get me to stop my channel by hurting me. Now, even on my other channel where I talk about comic books, there are people that tell me that what I do helped save their life. If you think that's crazy or not, it doesn't matter. I've gotten emails from people that say it. I won't mention any names. If they want to mention it in the comment section, they can. So over the years, especially on this channel, I've had many people tell me that my videos have directly kept them from wanting to commit suicide. So just imagine if one of my trolls, who does it because it's fun to hurt somebody, or does it because they get paid, or does it because they're bored, for whatever reason, achieves their goal and hurts me to the point where I quit making videos. And then all of a sudden, a person who needed my videos to get through the day, because it helped make them have a better day that day, all of a sudden no longer had access to that, because not only did I stop, I shut down my channel and took away all the videos that person watched to make themselves feel better. And all of a sudden that person decides life is not meaningful anymore. Now, I'm not saying that can happen or will happen, but see how that can cause a chain of events? You don't realize how powerful you are. and that the things you do, both positive and negative, how it can affect other people, even people you may not really pay attention to or notice or even know. But we're getting off track. You can convince yourself of anything in your life. And what do they teach you? They teach you to pray to whatever God, whether it's Buddha or Jesus or Satan or an alien, whatever. They teach you to pray outside, hope, wish, whatever, and think that you have a destiny, you have only one path. Even though you have an infinite amount of choices, you believe in your heart that you have to get your answers through prayer, through wishing, through positive reinforcement, whatever. And you wonder why you're not going anywhere. And I had the same thing, because we keep trying to tell us, oh, you just got to think positive. You just got to be in a better thing. But if you don't feel it, you don't believe it, it doesn't matter what you say, because you're just lying. When what you feel is truth. And the most powerful feeling you have is love. Fear is second, because you will react to that the most. Because if you haven't noticed, and this will show an example of why my trolls actually serve a purpose. Because I can have 500 emails from people saying I saved their lives, made them feel better, they thank me for the things that I do, they appreciate what I do. It only takes one person to make fun of me on a video that for some reason I'll react to it. And you notice we all do that? We focus on the one or two negative things instead of all the positive things. But again, that's by choice. But I use it, and I've always said I use that negativity as motivation. Well, all of a sudden, for a while, I wasn't making a lot of videos, and they weren't. I can't say they weren't quality, because people appreciate them, but I wasn't making as many. I wasn't feeling the inspiration. Is it any wonder why all of a sudden all these bad things started happening and all these trolls started attacking me hardcore? Because I felt in my heart that it motivated me. Well, guess I needed the motivation, didn't I? I got what I wished for. Be careful what you wish for, you might get it. And if you think about movies and references, if you think about like Empire Strikes Back, where you hear Yoda trying to teach the Force to Luke by saying you must unlearn what you have learned, you will understand how the programming is to keep you in one dimension, keeps you in one way of thinking. Oh, well, this is your destiny. There is no escaping it. And even though there's infinite parallel universes and you could go anywhere that you want, you are potentially Superman, but you're so worried about all the infinite choices you have, you don't make any, and then you wonder why you're not getting anywhere. And you can convince yourself, oh, I'll go in the right direction. Oh, I believe this is the right way. I believe what I'm doing is right. But do you feel what you believe? And it's all about controlling you, because think of it. If you believe in aliens, now I'm not saying they exist or they don't exist. I'm saying if you believe in aliens, there are plenty of places you could watch stuff on aliens. Look at all the TV shows on the History Channel, Discovery Channel. They do plenty of stuff about how aliens exist. But I guarantee you, if you contacted one of those shows that does many of those television programs, which they make months of money on, if you called them and said, you know what, last night an alien spaceship landed down in front of my house, a bunch of little green men, or whatever you want to say, alien people, humans in different suits, came down, knocked on my door, we had a conversation, we drank tea, and they explained the universe to me. I guarantee you they'd call you crazy. Let's take religion. Religions teach you about how there are gods, and how whatever God let's say you're Catholic, they talk about how Jesus came to save you, and how he's the son of God, a bearded man on a cloud. They preach this in church. Now just imagine going to a church and telling the pastor or the priest or the rabbi or whatever that you were at home last night, and all of a sudden there was a bright light in the dark sky, and a being came down and said his name was Jesus Christ or God or Satan or whoever you worship, and you let him in, you sat down and drank tea, and he discussed the theory of the universe. I bet they'd call you crazy there too. So think about that. You'll have plenty of TV shows that teach you about aliens and how they supposedly exist, but if you tell them you actually met one, you're crazy. In religion, they teach you all about these gods that are there. They created everything. And if you actually said you sat down and talked to them, guess what? They'll think you're crazy. Think about that. Convince yourself whatever you want. If you don't feel it, you're going to continually have the very things that keep you where you are. How can you fly if you stay grounded? So if you have an infinite choice and you're afraid to pick any one of them because it's different or scary, you're going to stay where you are. And then you wonder why you're not going anywhere. Because for some reason you're told And you believe that if you take a choice, well, now you're stuck with it. Because they say things like, oh, it's etched in stone. Well, hello, can you blow up a stone? Can you take a chisel? So let's say somebody etches something in stone. If you don't touch it, it will probably last for thousands of years. But if I take a chisel and hammer it out, guess what? It's no longer there. So in other words, something is etched in stone will only stay there if you decide not to take it away. If I take a bomb and blow up that rock, those words are no longer there. So if the words say you're going to die and you leave it there, well, you're going to see that every day. Maybe it'll happen because you believe you're going to die because of what you saw in a writing, because it's etched in stone. Doesn't mean it's infinite. You have all the power, but don't convince yourself anymore. Don't believe anymore. Remember that this glass is both half full and both half empty, and they are both right. So if I want to be persistent and say this glass is half full, and somebody says I'm crazy because no, they believe it to be half empty, why are they focusing on me, and why am I allowing their choice to affect me when it's just their perspective? So if you're feeling down because you don't know what direction you're going, don't be surprised that you're not probably going anywhere. But that's because you decided not to move. So think about it like, if I'm sure many people watch The Matrix, and there's a part where Morpheus is teaching Neo about his soon-to-be potential powers. And at one point, Neo turns to Morpheus and says, "So are you saying I can dodge bullets?" And Neo says, basically, I don't have the direct quote, but he says, "When you learn what you learn, you won't have to." So it's not saying that the bullets won't be there. It's saying is you don't have to be where they are, so they'll never affect you. It's all about choice. That's why if you see all these movies now and TV shows, they're all talking about interdimensions. Look at all the movies that are talking about other dimensions. Look at the things that they're trying to teach you. If you want to view it as entertainment, that's perfectly fine. If you want to limit your thought process and makes you feel smart, let me tell you something. There are two ways you can be. Well, there are infinite ways, but let's say you have two choices, either being smart or wise. Of course, you could be anything. You could be ignorant, you could be blissful, you could be partially intelligent, but let's just say you have two choices. You could be smart or you could be wise. What's the difference? Most people may not know that. Smart is a person that can memorize the most stuff that somebody else told them. You could train a dog to say, "Give me your paw," and it gives you its paw. That's smart, but it doesn't understand why it's doing it. You can teach a monkey or a chimpanzee sign language, and it can actually point out like bananas and things like that, but it doesn't understand it. You have the ability to understand, to stand under, to inner stand, because it all comes from the inside. Negativity is a learning lesson. So if you touch a stove and burn your hand, sorry, I have to move because my foot's broken, so it still affects me when I sit on it for too long. But if you touch a stove and burn your hand, well, you'd be a complete fool and an idiot if you kept doing it, or you like the pain. You learn from a painful experience and say, okay, that hurt. I don't ever want to experience that again. So you learn something from it. If you sit there and say, woe is me, it doesn't change the fact that your hand was burned. And if you don't learn anything from it and then you put your hand down again, you're going to get burned again, probably even worse. And I think what the biggest thing is, people fear the unknown instead of being excited about it. Again, choice and perception, because think about it. Most people say, oh, I don't like the unknown. It's scary. Be careful what you wish for. What if tomorrow you knew everything? You knew when your friends were going to die. You knew when your family was going to die. You knew when your pets were going to die and how. You knew when you were going to die. How exciting would life be that you know, all right, in 6 days, 5 hours, 43 minutes, and 18 seconds from now, I'm going to walk outside and I am going to have something fall from the sky, hit me in the head, knock me unconscious. I will bleed to death alone and suffer for 48 hours before somebody finds my dead carcass. What kind of life would you have knowing that? Or knowing that, God forbid, or Allah forbid, or whoever you pray to forbid, that you know that tomorrow your children die in a fire. Is that something you want to know? And let's say you can't change it. Again, perspective. How about the excitement of saying, okay, where is life taking me? It's a mystery. It's like a video game. You have the most fun when you don't know what's coming. If you know what's coming, if you played the game 500 times, it's not as exciting, is it? So if you believe in that whole reincarnation thing, it's like playing a video game for the 500th, 600th, 5,000th time. Eventually it gets pretty boring. It's like, oh, here we go. I got to go through this maze, and I got to make this backtrack, and then I got to go talk to this person, and I got to get this prize in order to get that. Isn't it always fun the first time? You ever take a trip where you're driving somewhere? Isn't it fun on the way there, even if it's a long trip, because you don't know what's coming? But then on the way back, you're like, oh, wait, I remember this landmark. That means there's like 25 miles before the next gas stop. Ugh. Or this is the part where there's the garbage area, and it really stinks. So knowledge is not always necessarily power. Fear can also be good, because let's assume most people watching this are adults. So I'm assuming the average person that watches my videos is around the ages of 30 and over, because you gain a lot more wisdom. Again, smart, which is somebody regurgitating information, and wisdom is somebody learning through experience. Smart means somebody else told you stuff. Wisdom is you experience stuff. So in the beginning of this channel, you could say, with some of the stuff that resonates with you, you could say, oh, he's pretty smart. He said a lot of smart things. But that was because I was learning from other people. This stuff like I'm talking about now, I didn't read it somewhere. I didn't hear it somewhere. I wasn't told about it somewhere. It came to me. My own personal wisdom. But again, when it comes to fear, I'm assuming, again, most people here are adults. They are probably, with a few exceptions, the average age is 25 and up. Now, if you were to go to an amusement park, let's say the average person watching this is 35 years old. Doesn't matter, but let's assume you go to a carnival. Would you go on that little child ride? You know that little choo-choo train that goes about 2 miles an hour in a little circle? It's about 1 feet off the ground, so it's nice and safe. It just goes around the track once or twice, and then, okay, get off, next ride. You probably wouldn't do that. But think about that. Isn't it safe? You're not speeding. You know where you're going to go. You're flat, pretty close to the ground. So even if it stopped, you wouldn't fall off. You wouldn't get hurt. But you wouldn't do it because it's not exciting. Now think about the typical roller coaster, the big boy roller coasters, the ones that go upside down, the ones that have the very large drops, the ones that have the twists and turns. Don't you feel scared on those? Don't you feel like there's that moment where you could fall off the track and die? And yet, you get so much excitement out of it. Think about that with your life. And we're all learning that. I'm learning that too. Like I said, I mean, I have an aunt that's in an ICU. We don't know if she's coming out alive. In the first 24 hours, we were told that, everybody come see her and say your goodbyes. And she's still hooked to a machine. So we don't know yet. I lost about 85% of my income. I broke my foot because of all the stress. Purposely did it to myself, but yeah, it's broken. I don't want people to feel sorry for me because I'm learning something positive from it. So all that stuff, I could sit there and say, woe is me. I could say I'm going to put a gun to my head or slice my wrist, because that would be an easy way out, but then it doesn't fix anything. And all of a sudden, I got this epiphany of more things that can help my life. And you know what? I feel good right now. It's all about choice. It's all about perception. But there are multiple ways to go. So go somewhere. Because if you go in the wrong direction for you, you can turn around. You can go another way. There is no road on whatever continent you live on that is completely one way, where once you go down it, you cannot turn around or go in another direction. Because even a dead end, you can turn around. But somehow we're taught to believe, oh, it's your destiny. Oh, it's inevitability. Well, if that's what you want to believe, well, you're going down a dead-end road or a one-way road, and you're not seeing all the other places that you can go. But people that are awakened and see these things, they understand the phrase, I once was blind, but now I see. I hope that this will resonate with people. Whether it resonates with 1 or 1,000, I don't know. I'm not doing it to get numbers. I'm doing it because it also helps me. If it helps others, it's a bonus. But you have the power to do everything. You live in an infinite universe where you have infinite choices. You could be a jerk. You could be nice. You could be a jerk and be nice. You can go to work. You could stay home. You could fly a plane. You could go shoot an animal. But it's your truth. But make no mistake, if you are stagnant, it's because you've decided to not move based on fear because you assume that fear is always bad. Well, I highly recommend you go on a roller coaster because you'll be scared, but I guarantee you'll be smiling. Not all fear is bad. Fear is a way to say, hello, McFly, something's not right. Face it. And that's the best way to face it. So if fear was a person knocking on a door, at first they might lightly tap, and you're like, well, I'm not answering that door. That's fear. I don't want to know what they want. Go away. Maybe if I ignore them, they'll go away. The thing is, that fear will never go away. It will get more and more intense. Because what that fear is saying to itself is, here, I'm just here to deliver you a message. I'm trying to show you that what you're doing is not working, so I'm giving you an opportunity to learn from it so you don't have to do it anymore. So I'm actually here to try and help. I'm not going to give up on you, just like that person was not going to give up on the person in the fire. They weren't going to say, oh, well, they're not listening, to hell with them, let them burn. So just think of fear and the negativity as something knocking on the door, saying, here, opportunity knocking. I'm trying to show you that what you're doing is not good for you. So I'm presenting it to you so you'll be aware of it. So once you're aware of it, you can decide to change it. And you say, oh, that's fear. That's doubt. That's scary. I don't want to know. I don't want to answer. I'm going to hide. And the person's not going to go away to say, all right, I'm going to knock louder. I'm not going away. I just got something. I want to help you. It's going to help you if you pay attention to it. And you don't listen. So it's banging on the door. It's like, you're going to listen. Eventually, you are going to listen. Bangs on the door. You still won't open it. So now he breaks in. And now you're running for your life. Oh my God, this crazy person, that's scary. I don't want to know. And you run, and finally he knocks you down. He has to knock you out and says, you're going to listen to me no matter what. And eventually you get it. You ever wonder that you have all these signs where you see it from other perspectives, but you don't see it yourself? You're getting all these signs and they get worse and worse and worse until eventually what was happening finally affected you and said, oh, I can't go in this direction anymore. If you only would have listened in the beginning, you would have never had to go through all that pain, because the pain is there to say, you're not listening, I'm going to make you listen. And I'm going to make it worse until you have no choice but to listen. That's why if you're in a relationship where you're not meant to be, no matter how much you convince yourself, oh, I'll get through it and oh, we'll work this out, you ever wonder why it gets more and more, hopefully not, but gets more and more abusive, or the people cheat even more, or you grow more and more distant and you just don't have anything left in common, and eventually it gets so bad that you're like, I can't deal with this anymore, I have to walk away. Just imagine if you would have done that in the beginning and listened to yourself. All the stress you would have eliminated. Fear and negativity never goes away if it's there to teach you something, because it cares enough for you to not give up. So if you think of it from that way, it's a learning tool. So just imagine if that person outside your burning building while you're asleep is determined to save you, even if it meant that he had to break your window, climb into your house, pull you out of bed, and force you out of your house, even though you don't know your house is on fire. Aren't you going to be damn glad when you sober up the next day and realize your house is burning, and if you would have stayed there, you would have died, that person didn't give up? That's what negativity is. That's what the pain you're feeling and that depression and that loneliness is. And that self-doubt. That's you fighting the person or thing or whatever, God, if you want to believe it to be God, or your own inner self trying to tell yourself, or karma, whatever. It's not stopping. And it's going to get worse and worse until you finally say, okay, let me figure out what it is. Because obviously there's something giving me signs that I'm not paying attention to. And instead of appreciating it, I say, woe is me. Think about it. You're in a river. And there was a storm. So the river's flooded and the river is going fast where you don't know. And you're stuck in that water, swimming. What do you think's going to happen to you if you fight the current? In other words, the river's going in this direction, and you decide, I don't want to go that way. I want to go this way. If you're going against the current, what do you think's going to happen? Well, first of all, you're going to get very tired. You're not going to get anywhere, and eventually you'll die. You'll drown. Now, just imagine if you just lay back and say, okay, water, take me where I need to go. And you just get lighter than air, and you float. And the water takes you where you need to go. That's what you need to start thinking about when it comes to your life. Let it take you where you want to go, because you don't know what's going to be around the corner. You could be about to lose your house right now. Well, what if all of a sudden you win the lottery? Or what if you end up somewhere else that makes your life so much better? What if you're not meant to be at the place that you're at? And somebody is caring enough, whatever it is that you want to believe in, is trying to make it so difficult for you to stay that you eventually have no choice, because maybe somebody else takes it away from you or it burns down to the ground. Think about it. It doesn't always have to be negative. It can be if you want it to be, because again, it's all perspective. Take from this whatever you want. There will still be people that are going to hate me. They're going to thumb it down because they were not smart enough to listen to this and actually take heed to what sounds like reasonable advice, positive vibration. Sucks for them. That's their choice. They want to do, their accomplishment is to thumb down this video, and my accomplishment is I can guarantee there will be a minimum of at least one person thanking me for this video, if not more. Who do you think wins out? And they're going to make fun of the fact that I shaved my head, or I might be going a little bit bolder at 45, or they don't like my beard, or they don't think I'm the nicest looking person. You think I really care what some guy thinks? I used to. Or even some girl thinks. Worry about what I think and the people that matter think. And the same with you. So if you're lost right now, you don't have to stay that way unless you like feeling that way. It can be that simple as to realize in an infinite universe, you have infinite choices. It's what you choose to do. If you choose to do nothing, whose fault is that? If you choose to do the wrong thing, whose fault is that? My broken foot. I don't want people feeling sorry for me. When I tell them about it, I can make up a story. I can make up a lie. I tell them the truth. I did something stupid. I kicked something out of anger, out of frustration. Was it justified? Probably. But now, because of my stupid action, my own action that I did on my own, I caused this damage. I don't want people feeling sorry for what I chose to do. And I'm feeling the pain. Now, every time I step and walk and have to go to work, I am feeling that pain of what I did. Well, it taught me, don't ever be stupid enough to do that again. Lesson learned. So if you want to be a computer, if you want to be a puppy that learns to give its paw, well, keep being smart. Keep having these other people telling you how life is supposed to be. You don't even have to believe me if you don't want to. If it doesn't resonate with you, then it doesn't matter, because just because this is my truth doesn't mean it has to be yours unless you want it to be. And if it helps you and makes you feel better, and God forbid, makes you smile, make you happy for a moment, maybe that's the start of something, a direction you need to go, or at least test out. You are never stuck. There is always ways. It depends on what you are willing to do to get out of your situation. Hopefully it will do something that will not hurt others. But again, that's a choice you can make. You can become very wealthy by hurting other people, by stealing from other people. It's very easy. But can you live with yourself doing that? These trolls that want to try and hurt me, and if I shut down my channel, could actually hurt other people in the process, and who knows what domino effect that can have? That's an achievement for these people. And I let it affect me even as recently as last week. And with all the negativity, I was wondering why it was piling up. Well, hello. It was knocking on my door, and I was afraid to answer it. My choice. So what you take from this is up to you. If you want to think, oh, it's just another crazy thing that Barnun's talking about, Chris is just crazy, look what he's talking about, you're probably right, because that's your own choice. But if you sit there and you're saying, wow, this makes sense, this resonates with me, I understand what he's saying, it's actually changing my life, I'm very inspired by this, I want to watch this over and over again, I want to learn more. Well, guess what? You're right too. It's all your own perspective. I'm not here to tell you anything. I'm here to share my experience. If it resonates with you, then you're here for the right reason. If it doesn't resonate with you, well, you learned another way to not go. So if you want to be like Neo, you can get shot at and dodge the bullets. But if you realize you don't have to be in an area where bullets are being fired, you'll never have to worry about dodging bullets. That's why you won't have to, because they won't be there. You don't want to die in a nuclear war? Well, don't cause things that have that kind of situation happen. If you want to believe a nuclear war is going to happen, guess what? You're going to have a nuclear war. Because you're allowing it to happen by not doing anything to stop it. And we're told that we have no power, and you believe them. Whose fault is that? If I convince you that jumping off a bridge is the most wonderful experience you will ever have, and you're foolish enough to do it, as you're falling to your death, don't blame me for your decision. Now, was it nice for me to trick you or lie to you? Or what if I really believed it? What if I believed through all of my research, from all these places that I learned from, that jumping off a bridge would be the most pleasurable experience? What if I honestly believed what I was saying? I wasn't trying to trick you. Does that matter when you fall to your death? You make the conscious decision to do anything, but you can do everything. It's whether this area here feels it, because that is truth. And that is why love is stronger than everything. You may not notice it as much. You may be lacking it. But that's just because you haven't found the right love. First love has to be for yourself. And I hope you find it. So again, if this video helps at least one person, then it served its purpose. And that means the negative and the bad things that I had to deal with this whole week and the past 2 weeks or whatever, with all the things coming at me at the point where I couldn't handle it anymore, happened for a reason. It was teaching me something that I paid attention to. And that's why, even though I could be losing an aunt, which I hope not, she's actually she's still on the machines, but the ICU part where they didn't know if she was going to make it through the night, that's already passed. So she's already lived longer than what they said that she was going to. She's gonna make it out. She's gonna be okay. And even though losing my jobs where I don't know where my income's gonna come, that just means that something exciting is around the corner. Well, you know what? I just bought $2 worth of a lottery ticket where the lottery's up to almost $500 million. I'd be probably solving a lot of problems if I won that. Guess we'll find out. Or maybe there's a job offer waiting around the corner, waiting for me to be prepared for it. Who knows? But to me, I'm not afraid of what's out there and unknown. I'm excited to wonder what I'm about to learn next, because I'm damn well glad I don't know everything. And I hope you could see it that way. So who cares if this is half full or half empty? It's both and more. Stop thinking one way. Or keep thinking the way you want. If it's not taking you where you want to be and you keep thinking the same things because you're stubborn or you think you can control your life in that way, okay. Don't be surprised that things not only don't change, but they get worse. Don't put a gun to your head. Don't make yourself think you're worthless because other people may have said it. If I call you a duck, it doesn't make you a duck just because I say you are, or 1,000 people say you are, or everyone else says you are. Until you believe it, what anybody else says is irrelevant, and it's their opinion. That's all I have to say. So I hope you appreciate this. I'll look forward to seeing the comments. I don't know when I'll make my next video, but I'll make them as inspiring as I can. I will have to face adversity. That's just part of my road that I seem to want to travel because it seems to help other people. Just be happy. Like the song says, don't worry, be happy. Thanks for watching, guys. I hope this helped you. I'll know it in the comment section if it has. Hit subscribe if you want to. Take care. Have a great night. And don't forget to smile. Look at yourself in the mirror. I don't care how much you pray to it. I don't care how much you threaten it. I don't care how much you bribe it. Until you smile, that reflection will never smile. Peace.